All right. Welcome to this session on phone number management in Microsoft Teams. My name is Ståle Hansen. I'm the CEO of Cloudway. I'm also the principal cloud architect at Cloudway. And my other titles are Microsoft MVP, Microsoft Regional Director, and I don't think I have any more titles than that, but if I had, I would put them up here, of course. My focus area is Teams and everything Microsoft 365, really. But what I'm really good at is voice in Teams. I've been working 15 years with telephony in Microsoft products. And to stay up to date and keep myself up to date, I am part of the writing team for Office 365 for IT pros. There I write the book together with Tony Redmond and Paul Robichaud and 4 other MVPs. I believe Paul actually is at the conference, so say hello to him for me. And I write a chapter on Teams voice and devices. This book is updated monthly. This means that I need to keep myself up to date on this on a monthly basis. So it's a highly recommended book if you are diving into anything IT Pro, Office 365. If you stay till the end, you will get a discount code for this book. So hopefully you can save some money on this. I'm really proud to be highlighted as one of the experts during the conference. This was me 2 years ago at the Oxford Microsoft location. And this is what you're missing out, people. Me and my sock puppet. Or maybe not. Maybe it's a good thing I'm not there. But hopefully it will be a good and an entertaining session about phone number management. Telephony in Teams. When I talked to Mary Jo Foley on her podcast about is PSTN calling necessary in 2021 when everyone is working remote? And the answer is yes, of course it's important, but maybe not in the same way as it has always been. Now it's more about the personas, the user story. And I think the biggest advantage of having telephony in Teams is that you don't have to switch contexts. So you can stay in context, make and receive phone calls. Because the challenge is if you're going to go to your mobile and in order to make a call and then suddenly you start checking out Twitter, you're checking out Facebook, you are looking at other messages and you forget what you were doing and the 5-minute window a call just went away. So telephony in Teams is definitely important, but at the same time, I think it plays a smaller role than it has been done previously because we have such a great mobile client. We have people being available and we can have conversations and chat messages that transcends time and place. So you can keep a conversation going. But I want to tell you a story before I start. A story about the support ticket. And one thing though is that I have no idea what a support ticket looks like. So this is a cinema ticket for no reason. And which is a new unread ticket. And we see this box is red. And for you, it's Thursday morning, 9 o'clock. You just sat down, had a cup of coffee. And this is what you do. You get this support ticket. What's it about? Let's see. It's about no Dialpad. Thank you, dear user, for an informative ticket. You don't have a Dialpad. That could be so many reasons for that happening. And in this scenario, I've made it easy for myself because I have instant access to the user's computer and I can ask, do you see a Dialpad in there? No, I don't see a Dialpad. What's the first question we're asking the user? And think about it in your head. What's like the first question you should ask? Have you logged off and on again? Yes, have you turned it off and on again? And it turns out that this is a thing, even in Teams in 2021. And the reason for that is the moment you sign off and log on again, the cache gets reset on your client. Lately, I have also seen that the cache gets reset when you close Teams and open it again, but definitely when you log off and on. Because it could be a cache delay, right? It could take up 24 hours until the client cache gets refreshed. So it could be a non-issue, and it could be that yeah, you don't have the correct settings yet. But in this case, it didn't work. It would have been super easy though, because if then the next question is, do you see it in the web client? Because the web client doesn't have a cache. It's just instantly awesome like that. And if it doesn't show in the client, but it does show in web client, then you can move it over to the client team because it's a client issue and you are done. You can close the ticket and move on. But the thing is, we don't see it in the web client either. So there must be something else that's wrong here. So the next thing we do, we go into the Teams admin center and we go to users and we search for the user. In this case, it's me. I created the ticket because of my story. And this is actually my production tenant. And you see my email here. Please don't share it with spammers. And the first thing I'm looking at is what kind of features do I have? I see I have audio conferencing, which is not related to Dialpad, so that's okay. Then I see I have phone system, and which means that you need phone system in order to get the Dialpad in the first place, the phone system license. Without the phone system license, you aren't able to add the telephony feature. So that's like criteria number one. Here you also see that they don't have a calling plan. So if this were a location for your organization where you're using calling plans and you see you didn't have a calling plan assigned, then probably that's the issue. You need to assign that. But in my case, it's operator connect, and it could also be direct routing. So we need to look a bit further. There's one more setting here that doesn't show. So by going to the cogwheel in this view, you can add the interpreted user type setting, this is a magical setting, people. Because what it will show you is the actual state of the user. In this case, Line enabled the user with Skype for Business and Teams license, which is great because you need to have a Teams license in order to have that. But this user probably had that because we were able to log into Teams. But here we will see what kind of state the user is in. In worst case, if you're not assigned a license or phone system, or if it failed for some reason, it would show here. Which means that people get a lot of information just by looking at this view and including the interpreted user type. There's a lot of statuses, and they're changing all the time. But the community has helped you there. And there's a GitHub repository documented all the different interpreted user types, both old and new, both for hybrid and pure online, both with DearSync, if you're hopefully not using that, and Azure AD Connect. And everything is documented there, and you can help out too if you spend some time troubleshooting a specific specific status. It's Andres Gorcelani who has created this GitHub article. If you search for Get IT Tips, interpreted user types, you will find this GitHub repository, and you'll find a lot of descriptions around it, and you can help out. So great stuff. Moving further, we see that usage location is Norway. And there are two people in the world that care about this location. It is the audio conferencing administrator and the phone system administrator. And sometimes that's you, both of those times. So it's only you then. And the reason for that is defines what kind of number you get automatically in audio conferencing, and it defines what kind of normalization you have of phone numbers for when you're making calls and making calls in a dial pad. So this location is important. In larger deployments, we see that everyone has US or UK or Norway as a location because the ones creating the users don't care really about where they are. But we care. So this needs to be correct. So if it makes sense that I'm in Norway, then probably that's not a problem either. But in this picture, the answer is glaringly available. There is no phone number. And without a phone number in Teams, can't have the dial pad. You can't make and receive calls. So you need to be assigned a phone number. And this could be a new user. It could be an existing user that has some configuration changes, which made sure that the user didn't have a phone number. So that could be part of the solution. So then we move over to the phone numbers menu under voice tab, because it's a new option, that you get the ability to look for numbers in your platform. So here I created a filter for assignment status assigned and location Norway, because this was the region user, and I find this number. This is actually an operator connect number, and this works for calling plan numbers and operator connect numbers, not for direct routing numbers. They are not showing up in this portal at the moment. So here I can go into the number, and then I can assign it to myself, and voila. I get an email, you get a number within 48 hours. It may take some time. And this is why if you do a migration or a bulk enabling of users, you should do that on Friday, so that the settings can process during the weekend, and that users coming the Monday can get the dial pad. Also, when we're doing migrations, for instance, that's why we want to clear the cache on the morning using a logon script for Intune, for instance, so that they get the fresh cache and get the dial pad almost instantly. But now I have a number, I can stay in context, and I can make sure I can make receive calls while being in my flow state and focusing on getting stuff done. Good times. And yes, the dial pad showed up in my client, problem solved. Now it's like 9:59 in your day. You spent your first hour of the day troubleshooting and resolving this ticket. At least we got something done today and resolved this ticket. But it's still 1 hour of work time and time spent for the end user figuring this out. And it was actually a simple solution, but it could be actually more issues here that could have caused whole dial pad. So it could actually have taken a longer time. And I believe that it can take about between 10 minutes and 2 hours troubleshooting a phone number. Maybe it was the wrong location, maybe it was the wrong who you took it from. Maybe you have some call plans, some operator connect, some direct routing numbers. And figuring that out also could be difficult, especially if you do this every couple of months, every once a year or something like that. So then the question is, how can we avoid this future? Such a simple solution. Maybe we can avoid the ticket and spend the day learning new stuff, configuring our environment, or spending more time automating. So I have a 4-step solution here. Step number 1. How can you find available numbers programmatically? Let's dive into that. Step number 2. Set the correct settings for a user. Let's look into that as well. And then how can we automatically give a new user programmatically the next available number without going through and clicking through the Teams admin portal? Because the admin portal could be having a bad day, or maybe you need to elevate yourself through privileged identity management before you even can get started, and that takes a couple of minutes and so on and so forth. So let's try to save ourselves some time on this. And then, of course, how can we troubleshoot this programmatically? So I'm going to spend the next 25 minutes talking about this and showing you this. Sounds interesting? I can see you in the room. You're super engaged over there. So that's awesome. All right. First, I created a script for this, of course. And this script is really cool. I actually talked about this for Skype for Business at the Link conference back in 2014, and also at TechEd in 2014, and Ignite in 2015 for Skype for Business. So I've been passionate about this for a very long time. And the thing is, what are we looking at here? We're looking at all the information you would think you would need around a number series. We see what kind of name it has. We have given it a name. We see what kind of starting and ending number it has. We see the number in the range, and also a number of available numbers in the range, because yes, I have 1,950 numbers, but 42 of them are in retention. How do I figure that out? Well, I actually look at the numbers and reserve really nice numbers, like gold numbers, silver numbers, and even special numbers, so that we're not automatically offering them to a regular user. You want to reserve them for call queues and auto attendant, and VIP users, senior management, and so on and so forth. Also, we have a list here, an array actually, of all available numbers in that range. And this is information we can use when we are assigning numbers to a user. So these are all available numbers in the range. How cool is this?
Really cool.
Very cool. All right, let's jump over to PowerShell. So this is my demo for today. Hopefully you can see that really nice. First off, this is happening in the Teams PowerShell module. And the Teams PowerShell module is fluctuating at the moment. It's actually got an update earlier today. And you should use the latest version. And to do that, you run install module, Microsoft Teams Force, then it will like over-install on the old one. I'm not going to do that since it was launched on a new version today and which I have not tested. But I need to connect to Teams. And right now, you cannot predefine your user because that doesn't work. Account ID doesn't work. And the reason for that is you will get logged on if you specify your admin account name, but it won't log on to the telephony components, the Skype business components at the moment. Maybe that was resolved today, I don't know. But you saw it actually reused my token after it shows my users. That's good. Then we configure and run get Teams numbers. And you can find this on my blog, msunified.net. So everything, the script is available on GitHub. And what it will do is, first off, we can define our number ranges. You do that in the script, actually. So this is like a semi-automatic way of doing it. You need to add the information to the script and get that information. So when I scroll up here and down to where I define this, you will see that I have the same number series here. So the first thing you should do is add one of your number ranges and see what happens. So let's see what happens when running this. And now I'm finding all the numbers in the deployment. And I'm building an array or database. And I'm generating a report. And this could take a bit longer in your environment because you may have more users, but it doesn't take that long, actually. And here I will find all the numbers. And this opens in a grid view. This is an optional view. And you will find that I have assigned a number, Alexander has assigned a number, Merete has assigned a number, and we can even sort on zip address, which is super awesome. It will find common area phones, it will find call queues, it will find auto attendants. So all the numbers are captured here. You also see what kind of voice policy they have, how they have been assigned a number. So, for instance, Alexander is using Operator Connect. Morten is using calling plans, and so are the common area phones, and the auto attendant doesn't have a voice policy because it's an auto attendant. But how cool is this? And you can search and filter, super awesome. There's one more thing. and that is, if you go back here, it will actually save our report to CSV file as well. So that I think I have it in here under C column underscore report and phone number and date. So it actually saves as CSV, so you can open it in Excel and do your thing if you want to. So it's a great inventory report as well. Going back to this, so let's scroll down to get the grid view, get the console output. So let's look at the console output. Here you will see my different number ranges, and you will get some interesting information. As I said, total numbers in range, how many numbers are available, and here are all the available numbers, and how many are in retention. And at a glance, then you know if you have enough numbers within your range. Maybe that was the problem. If you were automating this and you didn't have any more number available, that's why they usually didn't get a number. So this is good information. The routine automatically serves gold and silver numbers. But before we look into that, magic here is get CS online. So all the information that I got is actually one-liner. So let's find that in the script. Get CS online user. So this is the command that I'm running. If I can see it here, here it is. I'm running to get all the numbers. I'm looking at the get CS online user. I'm running a filter because that saves a lot of time. I'm thinking it can actually save tens of 20s to minutes running this in larger environments. Just to filter online URI, not being banked. That you just want to look at all the numbers assigned. And that's where we store. So this is actually the command I'm running in order to get all that information. The rest of the script is about processing the numbers. And one thing that it does is defining gold, silver, bronze, and special numbers. And this is valid today. This is a slide from the Microsoft Ignite in 2015. And gold numbers are numbers that looks like double, triples. We have double digit, triple digits, maybe a double, maybe numbers that looks like 5 digits in a row, 4 digits in a row, and XXX0 or something like that. That's typically a gold number you want to reserve for calling plans, auto attendants, and for VIP users. And then you have silver numbers, 007, for instance, silver number, definitely something you want to reserve for yourself. And people, the numbers that looks nicer. Bronze numbers, we are not reserving automatically, but we can identify them. But then you have special numbers, vanity numbers, that you can reserve as part of the script. And that could be a number that has been in use for a very long time, but now it's not in use, for instance. Or numbers that mean something to you and your organization, but it's not a gold or silver number, then you can reserve those manually. And also you may want to look into excluding numbers for regions that for some reason don't want to have numbers with 666, for instance. That could be less fun to have in some regions. And if there are other cultural differences, 4 is bad luck in China, but 6 is good luck because that means money. So you have some cultural differences here as well that you should look into. The way you can reserve vanity numbers in the script is going back at the top and scrolling down, and here is where you can reserve your vanity numbers. So I reserved my vanity number here, and you can call it whatever you want. It's reserved because of this and this reason, but it ensures that the number won't be offered as the next available number through the automation routine. And you can build this database in here, or you can use this as a starting point and create your own external database that you're looking into. And what's next? Yes. The thing is, when we have run this script, and we're still in context of having run the script, we can run the report variable. The report variable actually contains everything you need in order to find the next available number. So the output you saw initially, that's contained in this variable. So you have all the information here, which then you can look at programmatically and do decisions based on that. One decision could be that we want to have the next available number for this number range. Norway, direct routing, 8050. That's the name I've chosen. And when I run this, and I look at current range, then it will contain everything about this range. And then I can look at all available numbers. And then we get a full array of numbers. How cool is this? And also we see that the 99 and 9990 number is not offered. That's reserved for as a silver number. So then you won't be worried about that. But here is the next available number, the first one in the array. So you can then use this and get that number for that range and assign it to a user. Cool, right?
Very cool.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yes.
Right. So what can we do with this? We want to assign this number to a user. And this is just an example. You probably have your own automation routines around this. But here I have Alexander Holmeset. I'm running a get CS online user for him just to have a set of users. Typically, the source of final users here is users in a group, in an Azure Active Directory group or a Sync AD group, where we are looking at all the users in this group has the license phone system license because we use group-based licensing. And we are looking at these users and figuring out which ones does not have a phone number. And then we assign a phone number to them based on their country location. We can assign some more settings as well, such as tenant dial plan and even routing and so on and so forth, depending on if it's a calling plan, if it's operator connect, or if it's the routing. Here I create myself an object where I see this is how I want to configure my Norwegian users. I want to configure them that they have the country Norway. They have the user's location NO, which is important for me because I'm going to give them a Norwegian number. This is the number series I want to pick from when I assign a number to a Norwegian user. And this is a tenant dial plan. A tenant dial plan, if you are asking and thinking for yourself, like, do we need a tenant dial plan? You don't need a tenant dial plan, but it's nice to have a tenant dial plan. And here's where the community got you covered as well. useDialPlans.com. If you're not using useDialPlans.com, you should, because it contains the normalization of premium numbers, local numbers, mobile numbers for 160 countries. So this is developed by MVP Ken Lasko. useDialPlans, it's free, but if you're using it in the production, I recommend donating some coffee money to him. And this is a great way to use and a great source for creating tenant dial plans if you want to have those special normalizations for local areas within where users. So now we define a country, and the first country here is Norway. And then we see that we have users that match this. Alexander is matching this, which is great. And then we find also the number series, so current range. We populate that with the Norwegian number series. And then we find the next available number, or just numbers, I mean. And then we assign it to the user to do this for each. So we can look through and assign the numbers boom, 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 and save a lot of time. Just think for yourself, how many minutes and hours can you save doing this, especially if it's not failing, like it does here. On-prem line URI, yeah, that should have worked. It didn't. Let's try again. It's not important though, because this changes all the time. How you assign the numbers, and it changes based on, are you assigning a direct routing number? Are you assigning a calling plan number? Are you assigning an operator connect number? But this is the command we would have run. We would have given Alexander a number in the correct format. So for on-prem line URI, you will give him with the telcall syntax, but for calling plans, for instance, you don't. And then enable the user for enterprise voice as well. And from an access perspective here, enabling enterprise voice requires Teams administrator role. But setting the number, that's only requires Teams communication admin role. So if you can avoid this one and do it in other routines or something like that, then you only need the Teams communication admin. But if you also enable it for enterprise voice, then you need the full Teams admin to do this. And yeah, this is the routine that you can use and get a number and loop through it and get the next available number for that routine and assign it to a bulk set of users automatically, programmatically every day, for instance, if there are new users. Next part, the last part, is troubleshoot. How can we do that programmatically? What are we looking for? And it turns out, a couple of years ago, I created a, it's not a script even, it's just a one-liner actually. It's a magical one-liner where you get all the information you need at a glance about the user. And best of all, you can actually build your testing teams around this if you want to. If you want to take it super far, you can build your testing routines around this to look at, okay, what's wrong with this user at a glance? And the one-liner you can find on my blog, mbcunify.net. And you so go to my blog, scroll to the top, go to troubleshooting, click on troubleshooting, and it's actually, that's how much troubleshooting I do. It's 29 since my last post. But anyway, you'll find this one-liner here. And this is it. It's just a one-liner. I have tested this with the current Teams PowerShell module, and it still works. But this also still subject to change. But I will test it when new modules are released. What are we seeing here? This is the same information that you saw in Teams Admin Center, but now you can look at it programmatically. I see that the user is enabled. I see it's in Teams only mode because that's the thing now if you're an online user. This one is important. You need to be enabled for enterprise voice. And for some reason, users could be disabled for that. If it's synced from Active Directory or because other reasons, maybe the phone system license did not apply correctly, stuff like that, then enterprise voice enabled will be false. And if it's false, no Dialpad. Here you do see that Alexander doesn't have a city. It's not a requirement. It's just for us so that we can understand its location. And what we want to see is that city, usage location, dial plan, and country matches with the number we have assigned. So those attributes should match up, should make sense. So here we don't have a tenant dial plan, but if we also had that, it also should match both the country and maybe the city even, if the city was assigned here. So the information added to the user in Active Directory matters. And again, you remember initially that I said usage location, only 2 people care about that. And those 2 people could be only you actually. And this is how the numbers normalize when users dial the number. And here we see that the numbers are assigned correctly, and we see no issues here. We see the interpreted user type is correct as well. We see that hosting provider is correct, which means that the user is actually homed online. And we see that the online dialing conferencing policy service allowed, which means it's being assigned correctly. This is a healthy user right here. For instance, if you don't see a number here, that could be a reason for them not having it, or it could be if it's direct routing and you don't have only voice routing policy, then the dialpad wouldn't show as well. So you need to make sure it's direct routing, the dialpad and the online voice routing policy needs to be assigned to the user. But at a glance, look at this, and you can take action based on this programmatically. And that's it. That's what we've been talking about. So how can we avoid the issue around the dialpad in the future? Typically, it's a configuration issue. When Teams first started and we started telephony, we saw that in the Microsoft backend, things could fail as well. There has been a long time since we saw the last failure in the backend, which meant that the user didn't get a dialpad. So recently, in the larger deployments I've been doing, lately I came out of a 40,000 user global deployment, and every time there were a ticket on the dialpad, it was a configuration issue. It was some of these settings at a glance that did not add up. So, how to avoid this? Create a routine so you don't have to reinvent it every time. And I'm just showing you the building blocks here. I'm showing you the building block of getting the numbers. I've shown you the building block of assigning the number, and also how you can find the settings on the user. And then I've seen a lot of different ways of automating this. Maybe you do want to have it semi-automated and just run the script to do this. And initially, in some of the projects that we run, we do that. Someone sits down and runs the script once a day, for instance. But the moment we are able to automate it, you can automate it through Azure Automation. You can automate it through TIM. You can automate it whichever way you want, actually, and incorporate it into your current DevOps strategy. But it's totally doable to automate phone number management and have full control over how many numbers you have available, how many ranges you have, and what's the next available number. Getting that instantly is possible. And the goal here, of course, is to get less tickets. So you don't have to spend that 59 minutes in the beginning of the day and spending valuable troubleshooting capacity in order to troubleshoot something that could be automated. That could be super easy to figure out. And maybe part of that ticket you want to do it semi-manually is to run a script in order to have the script tell you what's wrong with the user. With that, I want to thank you for your attention. And I believe you have a couple of minutes for Q&A as well. I'm looking forward to hear your revelations. I'm looking forward to hear your questions. Or if this may help you in any way, I would really like to know about it. Make sure you put it in the review for the conference. And if I'm changing your life right here, please let me know on Twitter, because that's fun. And also, if you'd like to get the book, Office 365 for IT Pros, $10 discount, people, if you follow this link. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thanks, Ståle. Is there any questions in the room? Any questions in the room? Raise your hand if there is. For our online audience, if you've got any questions, just raise your hand in Teams and we'll unmute you.
You delivered it so well, Ståle. There are no questions.
Yep.
You nailed it.
happens. I didn't expect any questions, actually.
Okay, thank you for our remote audience. I'll just disconnect you now. There is still one more session of the day happening here, so check out that session. So goodbye to our remote audience.